I feel like you're starting to see gospel, I'm not going to say gospel centered, but gospel conversations in secular public square circles. Whether that be, I know there's a lot of news out right now about Joe Rogan having an apologist, Wesley Huff, which I'd recommend. Go listen to the whole 3 hour thing. It's brilliant. He just walks Joe through the resurrection, walks him through the crucifixion on a scholarly and very Christ like level. But not even just that. It's fascinating to see even some non Christians or people that claim Christ talk about things of faith. And so I wanted to get y'all's thoughts on what do you make of this? From an evangelism standpoint, I think we really have an opportunity to maybe reach a new demographic, especially you guys being in a different region where I'm here in the Bible Belt, of where maybe people whose values might align with Christianity, even though their religion might not. It's almost as if they have an open ear toward, well, I like, you see Elon Musk talking about, well, I'm not a Christian, but I adhere and I agree with all of the teachings and principles of the Bible. And so I wanted to see if you guys are feeling this too, and what do you guys make of it? John, you want to go first?
Sure. I think what you're seeing a bit is the exhaustion of a postmodernity that's fragmented and falling apart. And if you follow the philosophy of that, then you end up in just nothingness and hopelessness. And I think as we push closer and closer to that line, I think people are identifying that line and just realizing, wait a second, there might be some more substance out there. And I think this Gen Z are open to the dialogue in a public sphere that allows some conversation about various faiths. Surely the adoption of some of those various faiths, because I think there's some that are Eastern mysticism or spirituality as well. So, but I think what's fascinating and fruitful for me is you have probably the largest generation in the U.S. that's growing up without at least to date, without growing up in a Christian home or growing up going to church. I think you have more now than ever before. And so now, you have people that are coming in with various ideologies that are interacting with the Christian faith for the first time in their 30s or, mid 20s. And they have very limited range of understanding of what that is. And so I think in some ways that's going to be fruitful because you're going to have the opportunity to have a healthy discussion without maybe church hurt or trauma or whatever that might have been endured historically. And I think you also have the pressure of some of the more radical Islamic folks that are pushing people away from that. And they're looking around, what's the other alternative? What's the other possibility? And Christianity is remaining here and fruitful and fervent and authentic faith. And so I think there's a lot of pressures coming in. And now I will say I think Joe Rogan experience or whatever is an opportunity to cast seed in places maybe that it hadn't been cast for. But I'm still a staunch believer that the reason that the church is established is because these people that are wrestling with matters of faith or even coming to faith need to live an authentic community where they see someone not only adopt a philosophy intellectually or adopt a belief system intellectually, they need to see how this changes and transform their lives within the relationships that are around them. And I think that that's something where a podcast or something is never going to reach to. So it's good at relaying the information, but I think the difficulty is they're going to have to find authentic community. They need to stumble into a church, a healthy church that equips the saints and preaches the gospel and lives in community and does the things that it does well.
Hmm. That's an interesting perspective. Adam, where's your mind take you?
That was very, very well said. And he started with what I was going to start with the postmodernity. We have run into the brick wall of depravity, and there's a suddenness, there's a jolt in society. I can't help but feel like just in the span of larger history that we're kind of living in right now is the COVID era, the social media stuff, a lot of the racial division, a lot of the introduction of these radical new ideas into society, and in many ways touching every part of society down to a box of Oreos at Walmart. I mean, it's everywhere. There's a jolt that even the non-Christians or the semi, interested in spirituality and religion have felt. And it's caused them to go looking for what is true, for what is meaningful, logical, for what gives a sense of purpose to their life. Like John said, community. What does this mean for my family, my unit that God has me in? And so I think, sometimes when a society starts drifting so far in one direction as we have been, there are like little points throughout that time of that decline where, there's a spiritual awakening, there's a revival, there's a lot of people coming to Jesus, there's a new Jesus movement, whatever it may be. And I think, wow, what an opportunity for the church.
Hmm.
So we just launched the 3-year evangelism / outreach mission strategy to reach the 3 miles within our church. And I'm saying the same things that we're talking about.
Mm.
People want the truth. Um, and I think just in general, the church has that opportunity to reach those people. We've got to be wise in how we do it and never water down the gospel or compromise in any way. But at the same time, what an opportunity.
Mm.
What an opportunity.
One of the concepts that I've come to a lot lately, and I think sometimes in the church's effort to be missional, sometimes we skip over the pre-evangelism. And I think this could be a good, whether it be something in the public square, opening their minds up, where you see some of these people like Joe Rogan, just for instance, 2, 3 years ago, it was, oh, the resurrection, the Bible's a hoax, it's a myth. Well, now you've got some people at least making him look in the mirror and ask the question. And so I think what you're seeing is people that would have never considered Christianity say, okay, let me double back here. And even in my own life, people that I have tried to evangelize to, maybe sometimes I was a little bit ahead of where they were. And I think sometimes in our life on mission, trying to reach and make disciples, we have to take a pre-evangelism perspective. And I think, Adam, you're right. I think this is a cultural, it gives kind of the vibe of just culture in and of itself. And so being mindful in our relationships, where somebody before you're like, oh, they're not a Christian, I never even would have went there. Maybe the Lord has some inner working that would open their mind up to that. And so
Right.
for some of these relationships, it might not happen overnight, but it might be a few years, and that seed is planted and softening of the soil. And so I
Yeah.
think now more than ever, and I love what y'all are doing up there with your mission strategy. But I think churches as a whole, training our churches to be a life on mission body and looking for opportunities now more than ever and getting specific about it. I think the more with Gen Z, they don't understand the principles or the basics. So little things like sharing your faith, how to lead somebody to the Lord. Churches need to revisit making sure your church has a firm understanding of the gospel, making sure it's a right gospel, not a self-centered gospel or a prosperity gospel or things like that. And so anyway, I feel like coming out of, like you said, coming out of the post-COVID, the post-election, there's just a freshness. I feel like some of that tension has just been let out of the room. And what a time to be alive, and what a time to lead the church.